One Piece is easily one of the greatest pieces of fiction of all time. Surpassing the sales of legendary series like Batman proves that One Piece is surely a story worth being invested into. But why is that? Is it because of the main cast, the major fights, the character designs, the backstories? For me, One Piece reigns supreme because of all the mysteries that are in the story. We have topics like the Will of D, the One Piece, and the location of Laugh Tale. But that begs the question, how many mysteries are in One Piece? There's probably more mysteries in One Piece than dollars Jeff Bezos has. And it's kind of up in the air as to whether or not we'll finish this colossal anime with every single mystery answered. So today we're going to be exploring the top 10 mysteries in One Piece that might not ever get an answer. And I'm your host, Don Quixote Evil. Let's get it. Starting with number 10, Crocodile Secret. So during the Impel Down arc, we got some really cool pieces of information like Ivankov, the return of Buggy, Crocodile, Bon Clay, and we even got to meet Magellan and see Blackbeard. Like the Impel Down arc was so stacked and honestly is one of my favorite arcs. But Luffy was only there in the first place to catch up to Ace and save his brother. Because remember, the Marines only put Ace into Impel Down as a jailing kind of thing. Then they took him to Marineford for him to be executed. So Luffy basically had to break into the prison to catch up to his brother. When Luffy makes it to the bottom floor, he realizes, oh shoot, my brother's not here. They're taking him to Marineford. So now the mission is like, okay, now we need to go back up and escape out of the prison. And in order to do this, Luffy had to recruit some people in the Alliance and have people on his side. That way he can break out of the prison. And one of those people on his side was Crocodile. Now at first, Crocodile refused to help. He refused to join. He's coming from the standpoint of like, Luffy, why should I help you? What do I owe you? Let me go do my own thing with Mr. One. And that's when Ivankov steps in and says something very, very interesting. She tells Crocodile, if you don't help us, if you don't join this alliance, I'm gonna tell everyone your secret. Now this has really puzzled and stumbled readers for a long time because again, Crocodile didn't want to join the alliance, and just even at the mention of this secret, he completely flipped the script and he ended up helping Luffy. So it seems like Oda is implying and inferring that whatever his secret is something super dark and something very important to him that made him change his mind. And this has spawned theories like Crocodile was a woman, Crocodile's Luffy's mom, all types of crazy wild theories that I don't really subscribe to, but let me know what you think. Are we ever gonna see Crocodile's secret? Moving on to number 9, Luffy's mother. Now all across the One Piece story, we get to see the parents of a lot of characters. We know Sanji's parents, Chopper's parents, Robin's mom, even Nami's adoptive mother, and even characters that are kind of on the sidelines that have kids or have parents like Doflamingo, Senior Pink, but it seems like the main character is like the only guy that has no kind of connection with his parents. Sure, you could talk about how Dragon's the leader of the Revolutionary Army, but Dragon never really interacted with Luffy like that. I believe Logtown was like the first time Dragon even interacted with Luffy since probably Luffy's birth. And the wife of Dragon, like the mother of Luffy, is even worse. We've never seen a silhouette of her. We don't know her name. She's never been mentioned. She hasn't even been alluded to. Like Oda has given zero attention to Luffy's mom and hasn't even nudged us in that direction. But that doesn't stop us fans. Clearly Luffy must have some kind of mother. Someone gave birth to Luffy. And this makes readers think like maybe it's a big plot twist. Maybe Crocodile is Luffy's mom. Again, I am not subscribing to that at all, but I do think the mystery of Luffy's mother is pretty interesting. Now the author of One Piece did kind of give an answer for this at one point. A reader asked Oda, hey man, why are the mothers in One Piece always dying? Why are they so lame? Why are they never having a pivotal role? And Oda responded by saying that mothers kill adventure. So maybe Luffy not having a mother kind of plays into Oda's own beliefs. It would have killed his adventure because Luffy is on the greatest adventure of all time. But the thing is like Luffy can have a great mom that like did something very important that doesn't have to interact with Luffy. Like think about it. Luffy could have a mom that worked with Dragon, that got close to Garp, just never really with her son. And that could even play into why Dragon is a leader of the Revs. Maybe the Celestial Dragons did something to the mom of Luffy and now Dragon's angry. He hates the Celestial Dragons. Like since we know nothing about Luffy's mom, it could go many different directions. Now I will kind of pitch my own answer as to who Luffy's mom is. I believe Luffy's mom passed away and she was a Celestial Dragon. Now not too long ago, Luffy was confirmed to be based on a Hindu monkey god known as Hanumanji. And if you look into the lore of Hanumanji, his mother was a woman named Anjana and she was a celestial nymph who used to live in the Holy Land and kind of went down and married the father of Hanuman. I'm not going to go too deep on it. Let me know in the comments if you want a video on Luffy's mother. But regardless, do you guys think Luffy's mom is ever going to play a role? Quick little shout out to my Discord server, discord.gg/333VIL, where I'm always posting hot takes, fresh new theories, and sneak peeks to videos. If you're too lazy to type in this very easy URL, there's a link in the description. Join today. And now number 8, Enel's return. Now, when it comes to fan favorite characters in One Piece, Enel is up there. He was one of the first Logias we saw in the story. The cool Thunderbolt ability and lightning ability is so sick. He can shock all around the island. He has insane observation haki, and he uses his devil fruit to detect things. Like, Enel was such a badass. Plus, he looks like Eminem. And this makes One Piece fans feel like, man, he should come back. I want to see Enel again. And there's actually a lot of reasons for this. Now, a lot of One Piece anime fans don't know this, but in the One Piece manga, we had a whole cover story about Enel's adventure on the moon. Yes, Enel went to the moon. Like, he landed on the moon, met space pirates, found robots, cool hieroglyphics, and started a robot army. And none of that was put into the anime. Now, when manga readers see his whole cover story, they're wondering like, man, he should really come back down from the moon. We need to see Enel again. So I can't really blame people for feeling that type of way, especially when you consider other cover stories in the manga that aren't in the anime. Characters always seem to come back into the main storyline, but Enel is one of the very few people that doesn't apply to. I want Enel to come back. What about you guys? Mystery number 7, the Straw Hat's original owner. Now, when we first started the story in episode 1, chapter 1, Shanks passed Luffy the Straw Hat. He tells Luffy, hey man, I believe in you, kid. I want you to bring the Straw Hat back to me when you become a great pirate. Then later on down the story, it's like, oh, okay, apparently Roger, the king of the pirates, gave Shanks the Straw Hat. So now we have a chain where it's like from Roger to Shanks to Luffy. But that begs the question, who gave it to Roger? Now, I believe this is a fair question because this is a legendary Straw Hat. Clearly, there's something very important and something very inherent to this hat. I feel like this is the case because when Roger gave Shanks the Straw Hat and had the conversation off screen of something that was probably important, this makes it seem like there's something special about the hat. And then when we add the fact that Imu, the king of the world, has a giant straw hat in some dark, deep chamber, so I believe the man who gave Roger the Straw Hat is a mystery, especially when you look at Roger's flag. Like, did you know that Roger didn't even have a mustache when he made his flag? And it actually gets a lot worse because if you look at the Roger Pirates flag, the mustache that's on the Jolly Roger, it curls up at both sides, unlike Roger's own mustache. And not only that, but both sides of the mustache have 2 strands, unlike Roger. So to me, it's like, man, Roger's Jolly Roger looks nothing like Roger's mustache. Plus, he didn't have a mustache. Plus, it's like, who gave him the straw hat? So in my personal theory, I think there's like this legendary guy that gave Roger his straw hat, and Roger modeled his flag after that guy. But I could be completely wrong. I don't know. So comment down below. Do you guys want to see who gave Roger the straw hat? Mystery number 6, Zoro's eye. Now, throughout the pre-time skip of One Piece, Zoro's been a mainly normal guy. Like, sure, he might have a demon inside of him named Ashura. Yeah, he might have a big scar across his chest. Yes, he might use a 3-sword style technique, but that doesn't really take away from him being like mostly normal. He doesn't have a devil fruit. But regardless, we know that when Zoro and the Straw Hat crew got to Sabaody, they all got split up. Thanks to Kuma poofing them all away, all of the Straw Hats went their own different direction. Now, during the time skip, Zoro landed where Mihawk is. Now, this is way too ironic. I don't know if Kuma purposely did this or if this was just an anime manga convenience, but regardless, Zoro landed with Mihawk and was getting trained for 2 years. Zoro was fighting monkeys to become a better swordsman, to learn haki, and just being under Mihawk's wing. But after 2 years, when Zoro does leave Mihawk, he has a big scar across his eye. To me, it kind of drastically changed his appearance. But the weird thing is that in the story, none of the Straw Hats have even asked about Zoro's eye. None of them pointed at it, none of them winked at it. There's been like no kind of importance when it comes to his eye. So this leaves a lot of readers like, okay, maybe Zoro just, has a cut now. Maybe that was for him to look like Rayleigh. And some people go wild and they think Zoro has a Sharingan, Mihawk's eye, Byakugan, Rinnegan. They're just going wild with the Zoro eye theories. So I don't know, it kind of goes both sides. Maybe it's just to make him look like Rayleigh, just make him look cooler and different. Maybe he has something going on with his eye. But what I will say is that when we got to Egghead Island, Zoro asked Vegapunk for some kind of favor. He wanted to get something answered and figured out. Maybe it's his eye, maybe not. We'll just have to wait and see. Mystery number 5, Blackbeard's a they. So right before we met Enel and we went to Skypiea, we had that little mini arc called Jaya. That's when we heard about Nolan, we met Cricket, and we actually met Blackbeard for the first time. Like, remember in the bar when Luffy and Blackbeard were like opposites? Luffy liked me, Blackbeard hated me. Blackbeard liked cherry pies, Luffy hated cherry pies. This was Oda's way of showing that Luffy and Blackbeard are like natural born rivals. But regardless, the Straw Hats were getting laughed at because they asked about Skypiea, and they ended up leaving the bar. They're like, man, we don't need this anymore. On their way out, once they stepped outside of the bar, Blackbeard was sitting there. This is when we then got like an immaculate speech, one of the best speeches in One Piece, about how dreams never die, dreams never end. But the focus of this mystery is what happened after the fact. When Luffy and Zoro were walking away from Blackbeard, Blackbeard, Nami comments, she's like, hey man, who is that guy? What just happened? What's going on? That's when Zoro tells Nami, it's not he, it's they. This has stumbled and puzzled readers for a very long time, and I think this has to do with the epitome. It has to do with like the central focus of Blackbeard. Clearly Blackbeard's not a normal guy. He's being set up as one of the final antagonists. He has 2 devil fruits. I feel like Zoro calling Blackbeard a they answers some kind of deep mystery about Blackbeard. Now a lot of One Piece watchers will say, oh, Zoro only called him they because Zoro realized Blackbeard's crew was there, which does make sense because we saw Van Augur, they ran into Doc Q, so maybe Luffy and Zoro picked up that the crew is there. But the problem is Nami's not asking about the crew, Nami's asking about Blackbeard. And again, seeing how Blackbeard is this really weird guy who has multiple devil fruits, I think it would be kind of weird to have Zoro say they to allude to a Blackbeard crew. What do you guys think, man? I think this has to do with like the deep dark secret of Blackbeard. If you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for some of the best One Piece theory videos on YouTube. Moving on to mystery number 4, Kuina's connection to Tashigi. Now in Zoro's flashback, when young Zoro was learning to become a swordsman, he met a young girl named Kuina. It was a really cool connection for Zoro because they were just young kids trying to become better swordsmen. And back then, Zoro was a crazy swordsman. He was always beating everyone except Kuina. Every time Zoro would fight Kuina, he would lose. And eventually Zoro broke down. He's like, man, I can't take it anymore. I can never beat you. This is so unfair. And this is when Kuina breaks down and she's like, man, yeah, I'm beating you now because I'm slightly older than you, but when we're adults, I'm gonna become weaker because I'm a woman. And this was when Zoro kind of makes a vow. He's like, man, I'm gonna become the world's strongest swordsman for you. I'm gonna do it. But then this is where tragedy strikes. The very next morning after this happened, Kuina died falling down the stairs. Now, some One Piece fans claim that falling down the stairs is like symbolism, it's like an innuendo for deleting yourself. This is completely false and it is not true. This has been debunked several times. I don't even know who really started this. And to be honest, you know, I'm not gonna blame people for believing it. Like the typical average American, they're not gonna understand Japanese culture to the full extent. So I can understand why they would get fooled by some kind of Japanese myth, some kind of Japanese legend. But I'm here to tell you that's not true. But regardless, much later on in Zoro's life, when he becomes a full-fledged adult, he runs into a marine swordswoman named Tashigi. Now to us readers, to us fans, and Zoro, she looks just like Kuina. Not only that, she kind of talks and acts like Kuina. It kind of has this whole thing with being a swordswoman. It seems like there's some deep connection between Kuina and Tashigi. And the interesting part about this is that these two characters are only like a year apart. So some fans speculate that maybe Kuina's death was faked, maybe it's her long lost sister. It could go many different directions. But one thing I find interesting is the context of Kuina's passing. She passed away by falling down the stairs. And when you take a look at Tashigi, she's like a very clumsy character. I don't know, there might be some kind of connection going on. Maybe I'm just looking too deep into it. I don't really know my opinion on this. Let me know down below what you guys think because Oda hasn't really given this attention in a long time. If I recall correctly, the last time Tashigi and Zoro kind of interacted was Punk Hazard. It's been a long time. I don't know if Oda's ever going to answer this mystery with Kuina and Tashigi. What do you guys think? Moving on to mystery number 3, Rocksteady Zebek in Impel Down. Now, most of us One Piece fans were very interested to learn more about Rocksteady Zebek. This was a legendary pirate that had his own era right before Roger did. He clearly must have been very strong in power, politics, all that kind of stuff in order to have his own age. And not only that, but he had super legendary pirates on his crew. He had Kaido, Big Mom, Whitebeard, Shiki, all these legendary figures on the crew. And one funny thing to me is looking at the Rocks pirates in retrospect. Like if we went backwards like 200 chapters and you told me all these people were on the same crew, I would think it's a fan fiction. I would think you're trolling. But yeah, Oda made this canon. But regardless, Rocksteady Zebek was a legendary guy. And when Luffy went to Impel Down and he was chasing after his brother Ace, Luffy ran into a mystery man that looks just like Rocksteady Zebek. This has a lot of fans speculating like, okay, maybe they didn't put Rocksteady Zebek at the bottom floor and put him on this floor so that he would be cryogenically frozen. So maybe in the future, the world government can use Rocksteady Zebek to take over the world or use him in their army. Who knows? But the interesting thing about this frozen man is he actually has a name. At one point, a One Piece fan asked Oda like, hey, who's his name? Who is this guy? And Oda said that his name was like Kureo or something like that. His name was basically a pun to say like, I'm too cold, I'm shivering, I need gloves. Now you can interpret this two different ways. Either Oda gave him a name so that you know it's not Rocksteady Zebek and it's just some random dude, or Oda gave him a bogus name that's a silly pun about being too cold to hide the fact that he's Rocksteady Zebek. I'm not sure which side I subscribe to. I kind of want to just not believe it's Rocksteady Zebek, but again, I wouldn't necessarily shoot this down because of how bogus his name is. Mystery number 2, Florian Triangle monsters. So Thriller Bark happens to be one of my favorite arcs. Every time I revisit that arc and get to see Gecko Moria and Nightmare Luffy, I start to enjoy the arc more and more. But this mystery isn't exactly about Gecko Moria and Thriller Bark itself, it's more so about the Florian Triangle. So after Luffy defeated Gecko Moria and the Straw Hats are sailing away in their ship, come to find out there's some kind of mysterious figure in the distance. Now keep in mind, whatever this thing is like 50 times taller than Thriller Bark. And if that's not enough, while that was kind of going on, Lola's like, hey, let's talk about a deep dark mystery about Thriller Bark, the Florian Triangle. It seems like Oda was alluding to the idea that there's monsters in the Florian Triangle. And this is possible, like this does make sense, considering that Zunisha is a character. Now keep in mind, Zunisha is extremely tall to the point its legs reach the bottom of the ocean. Very tall creature. So maybe those monsters in the Florian Triangle are more of Zunisha's race. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's an actual humanistic giant. Who knows what those Florian Triangle monsters are? And it's kind of unfortunate because it's been such a long time since we've seen them. And to be fair, it was only like 1 or 2 panels. It was really short that we saw them. So maybe Oda just kind of threw that in there just to mess with the readers a little bit. Let me know, do you guys think the Florian Triangle monsters are gonna matter? Now moving on to mystery number 1, the hottest mystery in One Piece that's probably never gonna get an answer, the identity of Sogeking. Now this figure is so legendary, I personally have him top 1, probably over Gear 5 Luffy, and this is because he was brave enough to shoot the world government flag. Not only that, but he like first appeared in Water 7 on the train where we really needed him, and he also helped out during Thriller Bark when he shot the salt into the bear's mouth. Like it's crazy to me how much he's helped the Straw Hats, and we're 1,000 chapters in with no explanation. And a common theory for Sogeking is that it's Usopp. Now I personally don't subscribe to this. I think it's bogus and it's kind of a creditless take because Usopp is not that brave. Usopp's not that strong. Personally, I think Sogeking is probably someone like Imu or Roxy Zebek, because if you think about it, we've never seen Sogeking and Roxy Zebek in the same room. But anyways guys, thank you so much for watching the video. If you want to know why Garp's future in the story has already been foreshadowed, check the top left video. If you want to know why Zoro is literally possessed by a demon, check the top right video. If you want to know why Imu is the national treasure Doflamingo spoke about, check the bottom left video. And if you want to know why Blackbeard is the god of the rain, check the bottom right video.